Okay, now that I'm somewhat warmed up, I'm quickly gonna get my pipe ready while I tell you what I did while you weren't watching. I did promise I would take care of the side quest. I did so. I also farmed a little bit of money so we could buy all of the elitist armor sets, so that is done as well. And in order to do that efficiently, I did go into the next area, and I kind of finished that area basically up because it's the transfer area between the next two dungeons, quote unquote, that we are kind of supposed to be going into. Since on the way up there were some cutscenes and shit, I made a separate save game, so we are quickly going to relive Adolf's memory, so you could watch them as well, and see the little cutscene that happened, so that you are up to date story-wise. Then I'm going to reload the other save game, and we'll just go and start our climb into the, well, Vulcan. An active Vulcan, actually. Actually, to be fair, a mountain range with two mountains, one of them being, well, as you would expect from a northern mountain, full of fucking snow, while the other one is an active volcano. Quite the sight to behold, I would say. And that is kinda where we are at right now, so I'm just quickly, because I do remember where the memories are and where the cutscene happens, so we just quickly run there, get it over and done with, and then we'll start proper. Proper indeed. I'm looking forward to it. I did kind of mention this already, but today really I thought we would break this streak, honestly, because, well, I played through the morning, you know, of this while waiting for any potential phone calls or anything else that could annoy the ever-living shit out of me. Midday came, had some nice lunch, actually had a frozen pizza for lunch, you know, with some extras on top and then nicely baked. Pretty fucking tasty. Because, you know, just buying a frozen pizza, a cheap one, is kinda boring. They're gonna taste boring, but if you're willing to put some shit on there, some extra cheese, some extra pepperonis and something, you get a pretty fucking nice pizza out of that. So, you know, I was nice and relaxed and everything was good, and then no internet. So I was like, fuck. Okay. I played some video cutting here and there, got all of that done, and then I waited, it got later, went later, nothing happened. And then, lo and behold, the clock strikes the 7th hour in the afternoon, and, well, internet. Well, around that yet. So yeah, seems the gods have been merciful to me once more. I become an ever more ardent believer in their high arts. I can't even help myself. These are the outskirts, and you kinda have to go through them. There's some annoying enemies here, like these cunts, who are gonna jump, sit down, and then basically become unattackable for a little bit. So, yeah, you know, not fun. But luckily enough, we don't need to deal with them. As the first enemies we need to deal with will be on the volcano itself. Of course, I also, you know, did all of the necessary wall, or well, edge hugging, I suppose, rather. Any reason to go over here? I think there was a chest over here. A lot of that good nonsense, so that we can, you know, save ourselves the trouble of having to do so. There's the memory. Web. See, I wouldn't deprive you of the pleasure of seeing Adolf's memories and some visions. Yes. Bruder has indeed shown up at Kaznan as a commander of the Roman army. Ah, the Romans. Romans? You know, the basically Romans of our time. Just a bit cooler. They're such assholes sometimes, as some of them, to be fair. Others are kinda okayish, you know, there are some good people in the Roman Empire, but they also have a tendency to have a lot of assholes. Yeah, probably a good idea to not let him get away with that. Oh, wait a second, that did not work out well. Oh, so yeah, those two brothers. Wait, the mysterious figures. One of them is, after all, the, well, former fiancé of little Frida here. Check memes. I'm on it. Strategy. Just let me finish the little memory bit. Ah, you never realize how fucking good a hot drink is when it's actually fucking cold. I wonder how warm it is actually in my apartment right now. Okay, so that was the first scene. That gives Errol a nice little maximum amount of 10 XP plus... Alright, I wanted to check this out. Give me a second. This game actually is not that caring about tapping out. Unis non simpliciter rui conem transit labor acceptus. Nice. That is indeed well done. Well done indeed. Especially because that is a rather... Actually, that is a format of a meme that even I have seen so much of at this point that even I can understand it. Okay, so that's the way out. But that was that memory, a little bit of, you know, Frida realizing that, well, you know, shit is happening. And informing the Elder that apparently they are ungrateful brethren, so to speak, has partly resurfaced and is now working... Well, they didn't outright mention it, but we know that he's now working for the Roman army. Or using the Roman army. Indeed. See, the good thing is, even if you don't understand any Latin at all, since the format is just that fucking popular that pretty much everyone has already seen it and knows what it tries to imply, even if you put Latin in there, people will still understand it. Which is good, because as we all know, a joke that you have to explain is usually a very, very bad joke. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it indeed. Now we go to the other side and do the same thing basically. We are just going to quickly bring you up to speed on the events, and then we'll just quickly go ahead and enjoy our happy exploration of, well, the Twin Peaks. For once, when I'm saying Twin Peaks, I'm not meaning this in any sort of a, well, you know, somewhat more metaphorical way to refer to a woman's titties. Strange how that works, isn't it? The fact that I have more often used the terminology, well, language has failed me, the terms, or the term Twin Peaks to refer to a woman's bosom than, well, actually, mountains. Says a lot about me, doesn't it? When I think about it. That reminds me, has Kana, or Osmo for that matter, actually ever seen snow? I don't actually know how the seasons are in the forest. I mean, it's a pretty magical place. I wouldn't be surprised if it's constant spring or something. But I'm missing that sort of information. Yes, we know. We have heard from, well, indirectly from the Rhoda tree that apparently King Lovans has decided to meditate in the mountains, I guess. Why you would meditate on a fucking cold mountain? Well, there they are. The Twin Peaks. One of them a fiery abyss that is probably going to burn the ever-living shit out of us, and the other one just is going to do what is, well, already happening to me, namely getting cold. And of course, we're gonna get rudely interrupted by our good friend, Leo himself. Now that I look at it though, that sort of Romanist sort of armor, you know, the one that prefers a bit of a skirt, must be one hell of a fucking assholish experience in the winter, wouldn't you say? I would prepare something a bit warmer, I'll be honest with you. That's a bold statement. There's only so much movement you can really get out of your poor body. Before your body's like, well, I'm exhausted now. That is actually true. I don't think we ever deliberately, that is, got in his way. But you sure at least. I mean, even that whole nonsense of climbing up the fucking battlements to convince Podal Kana to not jump down, which she still did because she's Kana and she doesn't give a fucking flying fart about the height. Kinda just came from him. This is indeed, or they are indeed part of the Romans army. As is rather obvious, and I've said so before, lots of the stuff that you see in these games is of course somewhat parodying or has a certain resemblance to stuff from our own world, which allows them some freedom, mind you, but still creates something relatively easily recognizable. The names are actually a good hint that it's more parody than anything else, because, well, the Roman Empire is quite literally, even if you just say the word, it sounds like you're just saying, you know, normal Roman. That's it. There are some things that are a bit further out there, but you know, there's stuff like the continent of Europol and something, and you're just sitting there like, I see. And as I said before, the Roman army in and of itself has a very, very horrible trend, let's say, to have people in its ranks that are very, very evil little motherfuckers. Indeed, it makes it easy, and it still gives you enough freedom to use them how you please. For example, I think at this point in the game, the Romans are actually at war with Artago still, and this whole war is actually kind of the reason why in Ys 10, the one we played before, and was said before this, our little Normans actually could make so much good money by just providing a neutral space for trade between these two warring giant states. Pretty awesome. And believe me, we will see more of the Roman army failure to, you know, properly assess people before hiring them and putting them in positions in power. Especially when we are introduced to the next storm wall. Because of course there's not just one island that is going to be cut off from the world by a giant storm wall, no, there's another one. And for some mystical reason, Adol, probably having a bit of a, you know, moment of, this feels like deja vu, man, will find himself on that particular island as well. Sadly, it's the one use game I'm not really looking forward to, because lunge jumping. The bane of my fucking existence. I swear to God, before I start this, I will find a fucking tool that will allow me to automate this particular process, because fuck that shit. And fuck it most profoundly. He's surprisingly amicable for once. Oh, do tell, what are you doing then on this snowy mountain? And I immobilized their masked soldiers. Well, that is not good. I don't really want to fight those motherfuckers. They're kinda annoying to fight. That's a pretty sharp instinct, actually. You're kinda right there. They're probably looking for the same thing we are looking for. It is not good. I mean, what gave it away? The same hair color, the relatively same eye color, the, you know, same attire. I don't know, technically speaking, to be fair, Remnos nowadays kind of prefers to wear Roman-style armor. Well, fair enough. Also, those that poor motherfucker's toes must be fucking freezing at this point. Really not the right footwear for this particular weather. But you know, maybe it's just a question of willpower. Anyway, it's not like our own party has not one person there who's decided that, you know, some sandals would be good footwear for the fucking mountains, so I guess it really does come down to just a matter of, you know, willpower and willpower alone. Now then, oh, a little governor himself, oh, herself, yeah, I was about to say. My, the fourth princess of the Imperial Roman Empire, you say? That's quite the position. Makes you wonder why the princess would be here, apart from the obvious reason that she probably is somewhat running against either one of her siblings, and I kind of would like to get rid of her in a not so total way. Alternatively, that she may have some problems with the way the Roman Empire is doing its things. And so they might just wanted to put her aside, you know, for in case everybody else does, we still have somebody who can inherit the throne, that's good, but, you know, we don't really want you to get involved in politics. So, you know, stay there and be commander. I'm pretty sure the Roman Empire has no preference either male or female when it comes to inheritance, so technically speaking, that's not really that much of a problem. But even if they do have a male inheritance preference, since you still need somebody with royal blood, and if everybody else randomly dies, it's still better to have somebody in the back of your pockets. It's always the reason why you should be somewhat careful in, you know, eliminating royal-blooded people. Because as long as she's around, somebody can go like, hey, look, we still have one, you can grab her, you can go like, well, look, I've got a royal now, so, fuck you. It basically is a very good tool to give yourself the necessary legitimacy to become, well, the emperor. Or the empress, I suppose. And of course, you know, considering that you would need to literally pick her up from, well, the ends of the earth, Celceta, which is quite literally the S end of the earth, nobody is there, who's important to the Romans, for the most part. You could probably get her relatively indebted if you put her on the throne. And having the Empress in your, you know, in your back is probably not a bad position to be in. I mean, you know, we have come up with many great ideas how to control and make sure that the line of inheritance stays as we wish it to stay. However, humans have proven that, you know, sometimes, just sometimes, our dearly enlightened rulers can act a bit like animals, a bit like rabbits in their unquenching desire to fucking procreate all over the fucking place. The amount of bastards born from some poor maids getting screwed over is just amazing. And even not just maids, mind you. In some cases, you had the royalty literally going up to the next best noblewoman, go like, hey, fucky. It's amazing. It's quite amazing. Yeah, at least she is a cool woman. I have to give her that much, you know. She takes it in stride that she's now at the ass end of the world and just a governor general instead of a princess. Which, you know, I can appreciate. I can appreciate it as well. Because of course the sort of, we have long since actually left the area where the memories are just memories. In this case it's more like a vision, because there's no fucking way that Adol was just hiding in the fucking, I don't know, under the table or something and listening to this. If you catch my meaning, that's not really a realistic scenario now, is it? Now then, into the mountains we go. To get frozen and warmed again. Why do you learn so many skills? Well, yeah. You can absolutely, and that is the nice thing, claim to be and consider yourself to be a man of the fate while you're still doing lots of shit that, technically speaking, goes right against the normally more humble ideas of what Christianity would try to get out of you. Works. Let me guess, we need the Beastling Claws. Yes. I don't like using anything else apart from the urn, because the urn is just that fucking useful. Oh god, it's a bear. Get wrecked there. Nobody likes you. Kinda suck. It usually costs me a lot of my health points, which I also do not appreciate. I mean, to be fair, most people don't write books about you because you're such a nice guy. In most cases, you either pay them directly in order to, you know, write about you, or alternatively, what also does sometimes happen is that, you know, they're just taking the best and most delightful approach to describing you, as they're well aware that you're fucking powerful, and if you should find something in your writing that, you know, the other person might disagree with, they might come after you and correct you most profoundly. So there's always going to be some incentive to write about the powerful of any given time and era in a relatively positive light, you know. I'm just saying, you know, truth be damned, I'd rather have food on my table and not get, you know, fed to the lions or something for my indigressions against someone of power. I'm pretty sure many made that particular choice. Well, of course, you know, some stories about how the person actually was do kind of just have a tendency to survive due to sheer amount of fucking gossiping around. Well, yeah, let's choose an option. I'm not saying it's not that there aren't any people who could get away with it, it's just that, you know, if you're writing an official book, and you're getting paid for doing so, because why else would you write a book normally? Especially one that you have a plan of actually, you know, publishing, as in putting it out to the public and their critical eye, then yeah, you should probably make sure that, you know, the people in charge do not actually get off bad. Otherwise, you might find yourself, oh, I don't know, in a rather unfortunate situation where somebody might go like, well, I have suddenly decided that you're guilty of multiple crimes and you're not gonna get killed. Get fucked. Well, yes, but the problem is, not only are the amount of people, historically speaking, that have the ability, the capability, and the wish to actually write any sort of text or documents about anything very limited, because, well, throughout most of human history, a lot of people could not even actually write, let alone read, or any combination of these two. That already limits the sources that you have, and said sources, of course, will have their own motivations for why they wrote anything. And then, of course, the question is, of course, how much pressure they receive from the outside for their writings. Meaning that anything that is not recent history is basically a giant guessing game. And any sort of historian that is not willing to accept that and preemptive basically all of his findings with that is a giant fucking liar. I'll be quite frank here. You get the idea, right? I mean, take the fucking Middle Ages. The only people who could actually write anything down were, well, some of the nobility, not all of them, mind you, at the church. And the church kinda held the sway there for fucking centuries. So anything written during that time comes from the perspective of the church, and will most definitively try to not actually put the church in a bad light. Rather obviously. So, yeah. That makes history fun, but it also means that history is quite a nice guessing game. Listen, strategy. Just because some peasants came up with some scratches to determine what is 1 and what is 3 when they're going to the market, that is not a fucking written language. That is not enough to actually detail the events of the day. That is because you're absolutely right. There are some very primitive ways that people used symbols that could be interpreted as a form of writing in order to get very simple messages. Because, for example, on some market days, you would have some scratches in some wooden plates in order to determine, like, okay, listen, 1 costs, 3. And that works locally. But that is not nearly enough to actually have any sort of real impact on history as we see it. Because, well, that is going to be strictly focused on the average life of the people and their needs, and not much else. Listen, there's a reason why we had a whole fucking group of people getting hired specifically to take whatever the king has written down into law, climb upon a wooden platform and shout loudly across the marketplace so that everybody understands what the king wants from them. You don't need to teach your people to write or read anything, so long as you're willing to pay somebody to make sure to shout the message loudly and proudly at them. For the most part, the people were not actually informed of what is going to happen. They kinda just, had to fucking accept the fact when the soldiers came for the second time in the year and went like, yeah, the taxes have risen, you need to pay us more now. Yeah, quite often, mind you. Because, why would somebody as enlightened as the king feel the need to inform the peasantry of what is to happen to them? He has no desire to do so, he has no reason to do so, and quite frankly, the amount of work involved would probably actually be far too pricey to be reasonably useful. But well, that's an interesting topic. But as I said, any sort of historian who speaks with absolute confidence, just with one singular source, namely writing, is a big liar. Well, yes, because you would usually raise the taxes when something like, a war was approaching, and you would then, of course, also have to, get some levy troops, meaning you get quite a lot of the peasants together in order to get your army and stuff like that, but you would also lower them afterwards, because, well, it happened quite more frequently, let's just say, and in quite bigger steps to some degree than what we are seeing nowadays, obviously. And of course, even the most blatantly evil king realizes after a little bit of raising the taxation into the high heavens that, once the people starve, you kinda can't tax them any longer. But there's a certain amount of, understanding that, yes, we might temporarily force them into a very bad situation, but in the long run, we kinda would like them to, keep doing things. Makes us money. But it's an interesting topic, of course, to understand first and foremost that the amount of people that could have left behind any sort of information is very limited, why there are very limited amount of people that could have done so, and what their motivation would be to leave behind any sort of writings about the grander events of the day and the world they lived in. Because some of these writings will be very limited by the fact that people for quite a long time didn't actually know how large the world was, and how many other places there were. Although, to be fair, as far at least as Europe and Africa is concerned, people have kind of traveled quite since the antique, actually, between these places. Because some of the ships all the way from the Romans, of course, managed to sail all around Spain and France and land on the Tin Islands. The Tin Islands, which they were called, which is, of course, Britannia, to put it mildly. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Have I mentioned that I really do like the seafaring history of humanity? And that I do love the not just the sheer adventure, but actually the quite wide circles that they have achieved very early on. It's amazing. That's a topic for another day. Because if I start this, then I would have to start a whole fucking stream just sitting around and talking, and I would never fucking shut up. 6 hours later, I would still probably not shut up. That would be kind of distracting from the game, I suppose, at the moment. I would still ask you, dear little king, do you really think it is a good place to, ruminate on your thoughts while you're freezing your little balls off? I would probably still prefer a place inside, having a nice glass of wine sitting in my library, reading some tomes of ancient treaties or whatever the fuck, and go like, yes, I'm the king now. Ah. I mean, what is one saying about the USA? The USA is basically like 50 small countries in a trench suit, but with the military budget of pretty much all of the rest of the world. Which is... I mean, it's not really untrue, no. To be fair, the USA does need to be a strong one, and a strong deterrent for any sort of larger conflict. It's kind of the role they have, or the mantle they have been... I mean, they somewhat choose this particular mantle, to be fair, and it was somewhat forced on them, or it is still kept on them by others, so to speak. That doesn't say that it's not in their own self-interest, mind you. But there's a lot of geopolitics there that have basically been brewing since the end of the Second World War, and that's a long-ass fucking story. Actually, you would have to go even further back towards the First World War and the implications that event kind of revealed to the rest of the world, and how that influenced the thinkings from there on, all the way to the Second World War, and did... and the impact that had on the thinkers of the time, all the way to today. Which is interesting, because you can actually, potentially at least, of course, if you already know the conclusion of the story, it's always bad to, you know, create or interpret the history that comes before it as you please, because you already have a clear-cut conclusion, so you're somewhat biased there in your findings, but it is very easy to conclude, at least somewhat, how a lot of the more modern constellations in geopolitics have come about following the events from that early 20th century nonsense. Of course, technically speaking, you would have to start at the Industrial Revolution and what that kind of did to Europe, but it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing is what I'm saying. But now we're gonna go back to the fucking old-ass Kingdom of Celceta, which is, well, not so long gone. Yes, so many as are. Although, to be fair, they had a bit more of a direct input to be disappearing, let's just say. After all, as we have already heard, the one who actually managed us to fuck over the kingdom was actually our dear little god guy. It's the king. Hmm. I don't like to use this because I like my urn, but on the other hand, I can't be asked to continuously change artifacts. It's a hassle. That should be rather obvious. And I do wonder if this time I actually do get all of the materials at least. Because I am well aware that I can't get all the weapons, of course. Which, to be fair, they still annoy me. I mean, that's really unnecessary cruel in a Ys game. I can tell you that much. Because you'll always be interested in having all of your slots filled out. It's just human nature. You cannot play Ys game and not go like, I wonder if I can fill them all up. That is at least if you come from the early ones. I guess, technically speaking, since the new ones don't have such a stunningly obviously limited inventory screen, that kinda implies that there's an upper limit of the items. Then I guess maybe potentially you're not going to be as inclined. It might actually be the case. I can see that at least. God damn it, was it hard for the old timers, I'll tell you that much. No shield tablet. I mean, I guess technically speaking I should probably finalize my course when it comes to the enhancement things, because, well, we have quite a few potions now that would permanently enhance our HP by 100 plus. I do think this is a bit of guesswork, to be fair on my part. If memory serves for this game, then the max level you can get is, I think, 60. I'm not actually sure if that is the case, or if this was another one, because I can absolutely see that being the case in Filgana as well, so take it with a grain of salt. But if that is the case, and I think the max stats you can get is like, is it 999 or is it 9999? I don't know. Okay, this is kinda cute. And let me guess, I would need probably Frida for that, wouldn't I? Come here, little Frida. Your services are required. What was I trying to say there, actually? Oh yeah, right. It is actually possible to max out one of the stats. I have seen somebody who has a safe game with precisely that. It is the problem that while your stats of course rise, as long as you can level up, no problem. Once you cannot any longer level up, the only way you could enhance your stats would be through the potions. Now, since you can farm the materials for them, you can absolutely sit down and farm basically until you have all of the materials you need and all the money you need to actually produce such an amazing amount of potions that you can reach that max amount. Which seems like an absolutely strange endeavor to me, because really, don't you have anything better to do, any, other Ys games to play potentially that you would rather like to spend your time on than spending a good, I don't fucking know, probably 200 or so hours on this game. Not to say the game is bad, mind you. Just that, you might want to... Yeah, I can see what you're doing there again. This is going to be right, isn't it? You're gonna fuck with me, aren't you, game? Actually, you know what? I'm getting tired of you there. I'm going to fucking soul break your ass now, quite literally. Take a giant shiny sword up your ass. I still like this combination of characters though. It works pretty well. You get all of the things, all of the different damage types, and you have quite a certain rifles. Technically speaking, you can have an all-female party because you can of course replace Adol with Frida, who's also a slash type if memory serves. You see if I'm lying here. No, she's not. There she is. So I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. Whee! Actually, pretty sure there's, I think, one singular place where you can go down that actually does serve to get you to a chest. I just don't fucking remember where that is. But I swear to God, you will find out. Also, my dear little characters, my friends, my buddies, my little waifus, go touch your place for the love of God. Stop acquiring more skills. The sheer idea of at any point in a given time is having to sit down and leveling up that massive amount of fucking skills is giving me a headache. And probably cancer, when I think about it. Is there a cancerous... Is there even more cancerous cancer in order to describe how I feel? I don't know, but... Just say I'm tempted. Okay, so can I go down the other side here? Yes, I can. Just hold. Okay, so if I go down here... Okay, still here. Because we did see a chest. I want that chest. I want that chest very, very, very dearly. Eee. Okay, so I can actually stand up and start fighting in a very, very strange fashion. Oh. Don't fall down, we've already been down there. Okay, so where does this lead? To a place I don't want to be. I've been fucking frozen. That's not very nice. Also, I'm losing health like a motherfucker. Thanks to these assholes. That ain't healthy. I'm just saying. A rune cloak plus 7, eh? Let's see how good you are. Defense, heal, speed, and a bit of defense against paralysis. That's not bad, actually. I'll fucking take it. Also, as you can see, I have now both the golden axe and the silver axe equipped, because I do kinda would like to get more money. Noted at all. Sit down and heal for a moment. You kinda deserve it, while the ladies are basically playing around like young dogs, chasing every coin you drop. Are you not healing? Do I really need to go out of my way to equip the fucking spirit cap again? Of course I do. Because even though we are outside now, it counts as part of the dungeon, doesn't it? Well, it's actually only missing one artifact at the moment. And we are only so little bit away. Some part of me would kind of like to have a bit of a longer time restriction mode, but pretty nice harp music actually. Well, I see you still have not lost your interest in the finer arts.
Yeah.
You're sure lovely too. Okay, so you already found the mask, that's not good. And it's broken in half, of course. It's a good question. What is happening to your mask? I see. Well, I mean, it seems like a bit of a waste of potential, though. As for lady, your Twin Peaks must hold quite the nice little pebbles on top of them at this particular moment, considering how lightly dressed in this fucking cold area. And technically, he wasn't giving it to him, he was just like, well, it's broken anyway, I'm not gonna care. And some masked assholes, of course. Yes, he played them like a fiddle. Or maybe more fitting considering his personality like a harp. I never doubted you for a minute. Well, to be fair, I don't think Adol has ever considered that he actually gets betrayed by anyone, because usually it turns out he wasn't. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, far from. I really wish I had my Soul Breaker fully available. But I don't, so, you know. Bit of a waste of time to think about what you don't have available to you. Well, they're all dead now. This time they only took like half my health. Which I guess is better than last we had to fight them. Wasn't much fun. When you don't look healthy, there's all this black shit rolling around you. Sounds good. Pecking on Barmy sounds always good. Even Leo, he's not just useless, mind you. He has his golden moments to shine. Okay, so I think we have tried out falling down pretty much every way we can, so... We haven't found any hidden chests yet. There's a good chance there's none. Whee! Oh, it's getting colder. And I hope I have I'm gonna have finished fucking the circular slash at some time in the near future. Gosh, Dash Cat Raja annoying. Not the best skill Madol has, to put it mildly. I'd much rather, you know, it wouldn't be the case. There. I dislike the fucking bears. They are rather annoying to deal with, I must say.